The Ilyushin Il-2 Shturmovik was one of the most important and iconic military aircraft of the Second World War. Designed in the late 1930s by Soviet engineer Sergey Ilyushin, the aircraft was created specifically to provide close air support to ground troops by attacking tanks, artillery, convoys, and fortified positions. The Soviet Union needed a rugged aircraft capable of surviving intense anti-aircraft fire while operating at low altitude over the battlefield. The result was a revolutionary design centered around heavy armor protection, which earned the IL-2 the famous nickname, the Flying Tank. The aircraft first flew in 1939 and entered service in 1941, just as Operation Barbarossa began. Its arrival came at a critical moment when Soviet forces were under enormous pressure from advancing German armies. The IL-2's most distinctive feature was its armored bathtub structure that surrounded the engine, cockpit, fuel system, and cooling systems. Instead of adding armor plates onto the airframe, the armor itself formed part of the aircraft's structural frame. This protection, sometimes up to 12 millimeters thick, allowed the aircraft to absorb heavy damage from machine guns and light anti-aircraft weapons while still completing missions. Early versions were single-seat aircraft, but combat experience quickly showed that they were vulnerable to enemy fighters approaching from the rear. As a result, later versions introduced a rear gunner position with a defensive machine gun to improve survivability. The aircraft was powered by the McEwen AM-38 engine, producing around 1,700 horsepower, enabling a maximum speed of roughly 400 kilometers per hour and a combat range suitable for frontline operations. In terms of armament, the IL-2 was heavily equipped for ground attack. Depending on the variant, it carried two powerful 23mm or 37mm cannons mounted in the wings, along with machine guns and up to 600 kilograms of bombs. One of its most devastating weapons was the use of small anti-tank bomblets, known as PTABs, which could be released in large quantities over armored formations. The aircraft could also carry unguided rockets, such as the RS-82 or RS-132, which were effective against vehicles, troop concentrations, and fortified positions. During attacks, IL-2 pilots typically approached at low altitude, fired rockets or cannon at targets, dropped bombs, and then escaped while relying on the aircraft's armor to survive defensive fire. This tactic made the aircraft extremely feared by German ground forces. The IL-2 played a decisive role on the Eastern Front throughout the war. It was used in major battles such as Battle of Stalingrad and Battle of Kursk, where large formations of Shturmoviks attacked German armored units and supply lines. Soviet leader Joseph Stalin famously declared that the IL-2 was as essential to the Red Army as air and bread, highlighting its strategic importance. Production numbers reflected this priority. More than 36,000 units were built, making it the most produced military aircraft in aviation history. When compared to similar aircraft used by other nations, the IL-2 stood out primarily for its durability and specialized anti-armor role. Germany fielded the Junkers U-37 Stuka, which was extremely accurate in dive bombing, but more vulnerable and slower once Allied fighters gained air superiority. Later, Germany introduced the heavily armed Henschel HS-129, which had powerful anti-tank cannons, but suffered from underpowered engines and limited production. The United States employed aircraft such as the Republic P-47 Thunderbolt for ground attack, which had greater speed and versatility, but lacked the same integrated armor concept designed specifically for low-altitude battlefield survival. The IL-2's combination of heavy armor, powerful weapons, and mass production made it uniquely suited to the brutal conditions of the Eastern Front. By the end of the war, the IL-2 had become a symbol of Soviet air power and battlefield resilience.
Its design philosophy influenced later close air support aircraft, emphasizing survivability and firepower for operations directly above ground combat. Despite its relatively modest speed and maneuverability compared to fighters, the aircraft's ability to withstand damage and deliver devastating attacks made it one of the most effective ground attack aircraft of the Second World War and a crucial contributor to the Soviet Union's eventual victory.